Toy Battle, designed in 2025. 2 players only on this one, folks. And each game takes roughly 15 minutes. Good for gamers 8 plus, whereas Board Game Geek says 6 plus, whereas I agree with the publisher on 8 plus. Designed by Paolo Mori and Alessandro Zucchini and published by Repos Productions.
In Toy Battle, you and your opponent's toys fight for tactical supremacy across 8 different terrains. To begin the game, select one of the 8 terrain boards and gather your troops. Each board has its own special base effects and metal markers for controlling regions. On your turn, you will either draw 2 of your reserve troops and add them to the rack in front of you, or place one of the troops from your rack on the terrain. You may place a troop on any empty base, a base occupied by any of your troops, or a base occupied by an enemy troop with a strictly lower strength than yours, or your opponent's HQ. Additionally, when deploying troops, they must follow a continuous path of occupied bases back to their headquarters. Each troop has a battle strength ranging from 1 to 7, except for Quack, the rubber duck, which is wild and can be placed on top of any troop. Most of the other troop toys also include a special ability, such as Scully, who has a strength of 1 and lets you draw 2 troops from your reserve and place them on your rack when they're placed, or XB42, who has a strength of 5 and enables you to discard a random troop from your opponent's rack when placed. The players take turns back and forth until the game ends. If you are ever able to occupy all the bases surrounding a region, you collect all of the medals for that region. And there are 3 ways for the game to end. A player can immediately claim victory if they place one of their troops on the enemy HQ. You may also win the game if you gain the number of medals shown on the terrain medals objective. And lastly, the game can end if a player is unable to draw or place a troop, and in that case, the player with the most medals wins, and in case of a tie, the player who ended the game loses. So that is how you play Toy Battle, a great tactical back and forth game. I do want to applaud the fun theme in this game because it could have been any fighting theme. They could have gone with, military, they could have gone fantasy, orcs, dungeons, and I'm glad that they chose something different. And the idea of toys battling it out on different fun terrain boards is pretty cool.
Yeah, and coming off of Captain Flip, another game that Paolo Mori had designed recently, I was really excited when I picked this up in a trade. I was extremely excited to play it. Shout out to our Discord, we had some members on there who posted pictures of it. And although I had played it on Board Game Arena, I'm like, yeah, this is a cool little game. There's something that comes out in that toy factor that is gnarly when you see the maps and the wooden tiles. It's everything that I was hoping it would be. And here's why I think, that BGG neckbeard scale of 6-year-olds being able to dominate and play this, and the publisher says, well, actually 8, you've got 8 different pieces in there, right? 1 through 7 and the Joker, and they don't change. So once you understand the abilities of those 8 pieces, you could play it all day long. What changes, though, is the map. There's 8 different maps in there, or battlefields, and I think it's called the Toy Soldier is an intro map. But then as soon as you get into like the Bubble Bath map and some of the other maps, there's a lot of strategy that comes out. And so I appreciate that that's included in the box. I have some other comments, but I want to send it back to you.
Yeah, the terrains you get special abilities for unlocking different bases or controlling different bases on each terrain, so that those special abilities are the only thing that change from game to game, which is really cool. So this is a 2-player battler game, and we covered one either last week or the week before in Tag Team. And it's interesting because that one, where I felt like it was always off the rails, this one I feel like, even though it's the same type of battling and you did that and I'm going to immediately counteract it, or boom, that's getting thrown out of your rack and you're not getting that troop to play anymore, or I'm destroying this troop off the board. That same type of head-to-head attack, mean-spirited type of gameplay is still in there. But I feel like I had more control in this one.
Yeah.
And I was rewarded for having both long-term strategy and short-term tactics in saying, okay, here's what I'm generally trying to do, but he just blew that troop up, so now I need to find out a different way.
Yeah.
And chasing those different win conditions, and when you similar to other games we've talked about, is like you're abandoning one. It's like, oh, I thought I was going to have a straight beeline to their headquarters, and now it's like maybe I should try and go to a medal
There's
victory.
a maneuver right there. Yeah.
And then minding the other player of, okay, I wanted to do this, but now they're getting pretty close to my headquarters, so now I have to play a little bit of defense. How can I play defense and still put myself in? So I just love the tactical and strategic nature of this game as a two-player game compared to others that we've played recently.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I want to acknowledge that there's two designers on here, so I'm going to talk primarily about one designer, because in a lot of Paulo Mori's games, I have this feeling of my decision is impactful. I'm either going to play one of my troops or draw two more troops. Like, I feel like that's a big decision, but it's not quite enough, because, and then the sense that the game is building, right? It's building and building and building. Am I able to get to the tower, or is my tower going to get defeated? And as you suggested, then all of a sudden a different victory condition emerges. And if I take advantage of that, ooh, maybe I just won right there. So I that comes through in a lot of his games for me. Archaeos Society and Ethnos, which we've covered in the past. Via Magica is one that I played recently, and I know what's the version of that you love and adore?
Augustus.
Where you're doing actions, you're building towards something, and then all of a sudden different victory conditions just emerge. And it's like, well, what about that over there? And at the same time, you have to play defense.
Yeah.
I have to be aware of what other players are doing.
Well, and even the idea of that, you mentioned the decision of whether I'm playing a troop or drawing troops is trying to, it's like a reliever in baseball, or like, when's the best time to put this guy in or make that substitution? Is drawing troops helps you out, but you don't want to be doing it at the wrong time.
Because you're losing a turn, losing an opportunity to place a troop.
Okay, if my opponent just drew troops, maybe I can draw some troops.
Yeah.
Or do I try and ride as much as I can and hope I don't need to where you make that final push? And I think you can have 7 troops maybe in your rack at a time. There is a limit.
I think that's right.
But you have that limit, and it's like, okay, do I load up for one final push? Do I stagger it in? Or do I, just wait until the end and hopefully I can get through it without having to? I love that. Timing that draw is so important.
Well, and adding on to that timing in this game, if you initiate the win, you better win. Because if you're claiming win condition and it's tied, you're the loser. And so there's that one little rule in there, too, that adds a wrinkle.
If you're ending the game.
Am I confident that this is the right time to end it? So the one thing that I want to talk about briefly with this game is, like, for me, where it kind of fits in my collection as I see it, because the two-player games, it is a crowded marketplace, Doug.
Yeah.
There are a lot of small box two-player games, and then you get into like the Undaunted series, kind of a full weekend, day-long event. And Toy Battle, it fits in a spot of where I want to play a few games back-to-back and try out a few different things and a few different strategies. And you can do that very easy to get to the table. It has those, if folks remember Scrabble, the placeholders where you could place your letters, that's where you place your tiles. And there's just this sense of, I'm playing a game, and I also really like putting it back into the box. And in a very crowded marketplace, it kind of fits in its own spot. It's not in a two-player card game. It's not in a day-long event. And even though it plays a lot faster than a lot of the two-player card games, I just enjoy getting it out to the table, and I've had a good time playing it. Yeah,
I think what you're describing is a great point, and I think for me, it sits right in between two styles of games, which are the games like Lost Cities or Shot and Totten, which are great two-player games that the things that never changes, right? Every game is the same. There's no variable setup or anything like that. You just say, we're going to battle it. And that reminds me of the troops in the game, right? Those things are never changing. They're always the same. But then if you go a notch above it, I think is a game like Memoir 44, which is a two-player battler, but it's got a lot of components to set up. And the win conditions change every time. There's like a little bit, it's the next level above the amount of variety that's in this game. So if you're looking for something right in between Schottentotten and Memoir 44,
we found a game for you. Because you don't have to do the relearning. You don't have to do that relearning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a fun one.
Yep. So that is Toy Battle from Repos Productions.